Hayden Owens. I've been with him for 2.5 years now. That there's Willie Strange. He's the owner and inventor of the product Biosure Grow's son. Bill Strange is going to be here today. And this is Caleb Fintel there. We'll be looking at his fields here. He's going to give a presentation on, after I give a brief presentation on the product, he's going to give a presentation on some harvest results from past years. He's been using the product, what, 4 or 5 years now or so?
It's 7 seasons, but yeah.
And then we'll go look at his corn for sure, and anything else y'all want to look at. See it. He'll be an open book, tell you exactly what he's doing, cost-wise and everything. So first, Nature's Formula, if you don't know us, I'll introduce us a little bit. We're an all-natural agricultural company. We're family-owned and operated, based out of Brownsboro, Texas. Everything we do is in-house on the products, Biosure Grow, and the other product we'll cover later today, Microburst. We control everything about the product, so it's made down there in Brownsboro. And our mission is to help farmers and ranchers build sustainable, profitable operations with the implementation of affordable natural products. And the backbone of our company is our product, Biosure Grow. I mean, to sum it up, it's a liquid microbial fertilizer. It's the easiest way to sum it up. And right there, it's $15 per gallon for 55 plus or more gallons at a time. We can sell it in totes up to tanker loads. We've had that price since 2013 when we went into business, and we're going to keep that price. Like I said, we're made down in Brownsboro. We control it. We don't have to jack our prices up like everyone else just because of what's going on in the world. So Sure Grow, what is it? It is OMRI approved. Like I said, everything we do is all natural. So it's quick release, response formulation of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. It is designed to help give struggling plants a fast boost to get through stressful conditions. Usually a lot of people notice, especially on years like this where it's dry, where Sure Grow's been applied, it'll stay greener a little bit longer than everything else. It's a balanced chelated fertilizer with soil micro benefits and nitrogen fixation microbes. And it helps promote root growth in the plant. The healthier the plant, the more production you're going to get. We have over 40 different species of microbes within this product that all have their own job and perform their own function. They're harmonious microbes, so they all get along to do whatever job they're designed to do. Application rate's 1 gallon an acre, and you can apply it in furrow with spray rig, fertigation. As long as you get that 1 gallon, we don't care how much water you put with it. It can be mixed with other fertilizers, and we'll talk about that later more. Caleb will and stuff, what he's doing, mixing with your synthetic fertilizers and reducing rates and everything to save you money on all of those. Anything you put with Sure Grow, it enhances it, whether that's fertilizer or chemicals. So why should people use Biosure Grow? It has about the equivalent of 200 pounds of nitrogen throughout the growing season with our nitrogen fixation microbes. And the way that works, it's on by demand from the plant. The plant has to demand that it needs nitrogen, and then those microbes go to work to fixate nitrogen out of the air. It's not 200 up front or anything like that. So it has to form a relationship, the microbes form a relationship with the plant. The plant has to be healthy. If it ain't raining, the plant's gonna be stressed. I mean, it's still, everything's gotta be working as it should. This is a soil amendment, which helps the soil become healthier. The more you apply it, just the healthier your soil is gonna continue to get. Through the years, you're gonna see healthier soil the more you use Sure Grow. It's cost effective and can be used on any crop that grows out of the soil. We've obviously done a lot of work with corn, soybeans, grasses, hay of all types, wheat. We're getting even peanuts now in Oklahoma and stuff, so we're having people try it on everything all the time. Garden plants works great on, has astronomical amount of microbes, like I said, over 40 different species, but within that, there's billions of microbes within there. Has a very long shelf life. We still have the product that we test regularly that's 15 years old or older, and it still comes back like it was made the other day.
Is sunshine an issue?
You gotta keep it out of direct sunlight so it doesn't grow in algae. It's not detrimental to the product, but it can be to your sprayer. It's balanced natural product, microbial fertilizer. Microbes are gonna be the future of agriculture. You're starting to hear and see a lot more other microbial products. And I haven't looked at others. There's gonna be some good, some bad, just like everything else. But we've been around, like I said, this next year will be our 10th year in business. And we've just been steadily growing, mostly word of mouth. Here's an example of kind of what's going on with the microbes in the soil. See on the left there, you have like unhealthy soil. The micronutrients have been depleted through the years, resulting in a low amount of microbes. This is where most soils are at today within all over the United States. Essentially what a microbe does though is it's kind of like a little Pac-Man, and it goes and eats those micronutrients, whether that's your phosphorus, boron, copper, whatever, and it secretes a pure enzyme of that, and that enzyme is what is actually plant available fertilizer. When you get healthy soil, it has many micronutrients that helps feed the microbes, everything just starts working as it should. We're after a balanced soil. Healthy soil is going to have billions of microbes within a teaspoon of soil. Unhealthy soil, might have 10,000 or whatever. That's just an example, but it's going to be an astronomical amount lower than healthy soil. Microbes are what make everything work within the soil. Here are just some quick examples. Pictures that have Biosure Grow on it. This is corn last year in Missouri. That's 120 units of nitrogen with Biosure Grow, and its average was 250.
That is an irrigated field, right?
That's an irrigated field, but its average farm-wide was 250. Dry land and irrigated included. That's some Bermuda grass down in Oklahoma. Sorghum in Oklahoma. Soybeans, sorry that picture's kind of pixelated on here, but I believe this is Missouri as well. In that particular field, I think averaged 88 with just Sure Grow, one gallon of Sure Grow. This is some before and after of the roots on soybeans. I believe that's 4 days later between the application.
So you did some over the top there?
Yeah, yeah. That would have been over the top with the spray rate. It works just as well in furrow or over the top. Whatever works for you. You don't have to change your system to get it to work for you. This product is very user friendly and can fit into your product.
Would say earlier is better though.
I like, and most of us like in furrow if you have that capability, because it's there earlier from the start. But if you don't have that capability, it's fine going over the top, like I said. Then we have a few additives that can be added into Biosure Grow. I'll get into them here, but the first one's Plus B. It's for insect control. We'll get into what that is, but it's an extra $3 a gallon, and it has to go in the Sure Grow. So that makes it $18 a gallon. Plus M is for mold or fungus control. It's an extra $4 when you add that. And then we have what we call, just came out with this year, micronutrient pack. It's $3 a gallon, and I'll get into what those all are. Plus B, especially like on corn and soybean, I don't know why anyone wouldn't put it in there on that. So that's my opinion. But what it is a microbe that goes in the Sure Grow. And then when you apply the Sure Grow, so the earlier the better, it has to be out there before the insects show up. They'll be in that plant, and anytime a predatory insect takes a bite of the plant, it'll ingest that microbe, and that microbe works to kill the insect from the inside out. And and we found that it works on anything that takes a bite of the plant.
I guess my question on that is, you know, we still see some damage on the plants, but, it looks like it's killing, you know, what you're seeing there, but it's kind of a slow kill. But-
Depends on the insect. Some are faster and some are others. I mean, yeah, you're gonna take some damage, but it's usually minimal compared, and we'll get into cost. It's cheaper than having to go spray insecticide and everything else. So yes, they gotta take a bite. That's the only bad thing. And some insects take a little longer to die than others, depending on what it is and what you're fighting. So
It does,
can be-
it does control cutworm very well.
Yeah, any kind of worm we've seen it control on. So we'll get into examples here shortly. Is added to BioSugar as a preventative to insect control, so you put that in burrow, you don't have to worry about it all season long. Caleb, how many seasons have you not sprayed insecticide now?
Since it came out,
So,
I mean, that
five
was in
or
5
five.
years, yeah.
No insecticide on corn or soybeans. He does that in burrow, and you don't have to worry about insects. No harmful effects on beneficial insects, because they're not taking bites of the plant, and it's not harmful to grazing livestock. So you can spray this, and same with sugar, you can spray it out there with cattle on the grass, and you don't have to take them off. It is not a pesticide, and it's safer to use on plants than other products on the market. Like on hay, for example, like on alfalfa, it works for 2 cuttings. You get 2 cuttings out of it before you need to reapply. If you harvest the plant one time when you cut it, and then you harvest it again, that microbe's getting weak, so you gotta reapply. But like corn and soybeans, it lasts you all season until you harvest. There's some examples of bugs. That's stink bugs and some kind of worm on soybeans. There's grasshoppers, my wife's flowers. So she likes it on all of her flowers. That's corn earworm. We've seen it. Spider mites, any kind of worm. Plus M, just an additive to protect them from mold and fungus. It's best applied again up front before the disease arrives. We've had some success when the disease is already present, but it's best to be there before the disease gets there. And what Plus M is actually an enzyme. It's not a microbe, but it's an enzyme that we add to it. That's within the plant that keeps it healthy. Then our micronutrients pack. How we look at your soil samples and then base this off your soil samples, what you're lacking, what's out of balance, and then we can add that, whether it's boron, copper, sulfur, for $3 an acre, depending on what you need, whether it's you need 10 things or one thing, it's still $3 an acre, or $3 a gallon. So, any questions? I know I'm going fast, but like I said, I'd rather go out in the field and you ask more questions out there and stuff too.
I guess on corn, are you growing any like conventional corn without traits?
I have.
And, you know, are you seeing really good results on your conventional corn against earworm pressure and
Yes.
corn borer? And-
Yep. Yeah, I actually went through transitional, like organic, period for the 3 years using it, and never had an insect issue on it. There's another guy that's supposed to be here, who's all organic, that uses it, and he used the Plus B for the first time this year, and he's got a testimony of, I mean, he can't believe he's never had this low pressure before, and stuff, so, yeah, it definitely works in a conventional setting. So yeah, some of the traits that you might want to contribute, well, this corn's traded to control some of the insects. It'll just enhance those traits, but on conventional it works very well.
On the earworm, will it kill them when they feed on the silks, or is it more when they get to feeding on the kernels?
I don't know. I can't contribute
I assume you're seeing probably a little damage because they have to eat.
Yes, they
right?
have to,
So-
they have to eat it, so yeah, if they're, usually just that very top, I only ever see, I don't know, it's usually 2 to 3 seeds I'll lose on the top
Mhm.
at the most. Otherwise, even if if your ear has just, if it's a variety that has a little bit of tip back on it, even if they eat that aborted part, then that's all they're ruining, and it'll destroy them within that part of it.
And all your treatments they've been in furrow, most likely? or you
Yes,
do-
yep.
Because that's the preferred, right?
Yeah, but over the top.
Well, it's
when it's
preferred
young,
for me for a couple
over.
reasons, just because I'm making that pass anyway.
Right.
I might as well put it in my starter. And then it's with the seed. It'll actually penetrate the seed. The microbial formula will, and it'll be housed in that. You can do seed treatments with it, things. You might get into that, but yeah, you can guarantee that it's in there then, and it's gonna be with the plant the whole duration then of its life.
Yeah, we've had people go over the top when the plant's 2-leaf stage, any kind of plant or whatever, kind of the earlier the better, and have just as great a success controlling stuff with the plus B. And if you, I ain't gonna read these, but if you wanna look at, we got plenty of testimonies and stuff on our website and YouTube channel. These all got pulled from videos and stuff, so you can watch those on your free time. So get into microburst, and this is another product Caleb has used a lot. We came out with it last fall, but $56 a gallon plus shipping. With that, it's only a pint per acre, so it's $7 an acre is what you need. And this is a special blend of bacteria and fungi that help break down plant residues. So it works really great on corn stalks and just any kind of crop residue. Like I said, Caleb will be able to tell you even more about it. I'll turn it over to him. We'll get his slide show pulled up. Like I said, he's got the most experience personally with microburst.
I know you might be stealing that from your dad. He's got a little bit more experience with microburst than I do. So this is a spring application here for microburst, and it goes to work pretty quick on breaking stuff down, all that extra residue. We like to try and do no-till even in an irrigated situation. This is an irrigated field, and it just it really you can start seeing the fungi that's in that microburst start going to work and building up, and it's more of a product you almost got to be out there to touch the stalks, and they just get really brittle on you. You also notice with microburst, your soil, that top inch or so really changes, gets really spongy. You'll see a lot more positive insects and beneficial insects that are going to be in your soil. Like you saw, we pulled those corn roots this spring, early March. That one picture was with all those worms, just off of one old corn stalk. We were getting 5 worms, at least 5 earthworms off of. So it's really bringing those back. They just kind of really love what's in microburst. It's part of their food source and part of that food chain for them. So we've really seen kind of a change in that topsoil because of that. Here's a little bit closer on some of the stock irrigation. We can actually see, and I think just the other day when we were scouting, he's got some pictures now of mushrooms just growing in the bottom of the canopy. You don't see that in cornfields too often. And that's the mycorrhizal, and it's a different fungi that
Like
you have found.
trichoderma.
Yeah, trichoderma.
Which another thing is Caleb uses the Plus M, and you haven't had the fungicide for.
Yeah, I haven't
Our
applied
role, too.
fungicide ever. I mean, I guess I did it last year because they asked me to do a trial versus the Plus M on soybean field with the Laro. So I did agree to that, and the Plus M side yielded 3 bushel better. So I'm probably not gonna get any Laro anymore. But they tried, so. So these are 3-year results, both corn and soybeans. This is a dryland field that we had. Plenty of rain, 19 and 20, but you can still see the difference. This is the red, non-treated, green is the treated on each one. You can see the yield differences were extensive. And this is just basic. The only different thing is we added SureGrow as far as the nitrogen program. We had 135 units on, I believe, of nitrogen in those situations. That was all up front, right after we planted. Just went in and sprayed it over the top of the ground. The only other difference between the treated with the SureGrow was that we did half-rate herbicide with a pint of SureGrow on both the corn and soybeans, the chemistries there. And we'll kind of get more into that.
Do you mind if I take a photo of that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you say that was all in furrow?
This is all in furrow, we just put it up front when it planted. Yep.
Is that all dryland then?
All these results are dryland for this, yeah, that we took it 3 years. It's the only field we spent that long to get the results for a 3-year period. Most of our other stuff, we just don't have a lot of irrigated acres, so when I saw the results the first time, I'm gonna do the whole field, so, of my irrigated, so. So then the field that we're gonna go to today, I'm just gonna explain basically what they recommended at, say, the local co-op versus what we did as a Nature's Formula plan, and then it'll kind of show the savings. So on my nitrogen, basically the soil test I took came back, said you need 200 pounds in. That's the cost for this year, what it would have been for me. I ended up putting just 108 pounds on. I did get 600 pounds of compost on, but the analysis showed that would only get me 8 more pounds. And then I put the 1 gallon in furrow. So that was an upfront savings for me of $40 an acre. And on the herbicide, like Peyton said, it enhances anything that it touches, including other chemistries. And we have a big list. It doesn't have to just be obviously these chemistries. We haven't really run into anything, maybe 1 or 2 products that we have different recommendations on what to do if you do end up using those products. But for the most part, 95% of them that are out there, you can add this pint of SureGrow with, and you can get a better kill, I think, and use a half rate. And so this is the program that was on the field that we're gonna go to today. And as those chemistry prices really shot up this year, there's a pretty significant savings in that as well. So
That's a half rate of everything.
half rate of everything on there. So the Harness Max, Diflex, Roundup, Power Max 3, and then the second pass, we went with Resicor, Roundup, and then the atrazine, and we half rated all those. So if it asks for, like example, I think both those Diflex and Roundup would be, they'd say put a quart on, we put a pint on instead on this side of the equation.
You said you're using a half rate of the herbicide?
Half rate of all those.
And
So
are you using a half rate of nitrogen?
Just a
no,
pint.
we're only using a pint, so that's an eighth.
Yeah, 8.
Yep. Yeah.
We
you know,
recommend either a pint or a quart when you're mixing with herbicides and trying to decrease your herbicides. Because if you use too much sure grow, there can be too much sure grow that the weeds, it'll revive the weeds.
Yep, we made
It'll
that mistake
overpower the
hard way.
herbicide.
On one of our fields, we still have some pressure out there now because we went with that gallon rate thinking, well, we'll fertilize and we'll kill the weeds at the same time. No,
So
that
a
doesn't
pint
work
of
that
quart.
way. And the other thing I would say is after you do that, you can't fertilize with sure grow for 10 days. Otherwise, you'll bring those weeds back. Out of that. So you have to get the good kill first, right? That's the official recommendation.
7 to 10 days.
7 to 10 days.
On like pasture settings and stuff or grass, we've had people fertilize and cut the herbicides in half because they don't care if a few weeds survive and they're happy with that. But row crops, you don't want to do that.
Right. And then on the fungicide, insecticide, like I said before, I haven't used fungicide or insecticide in the last 5 seasons on anything. We just put the plus B plus M in now, and that does a very adequate job. And you can see the savings there is probably the most significant. So when you add all those up, the field that you're going to look at today, I put $147 less in inputs in, and I guess you compare it to your own field and see if it's something that you could live with saving that much money, and if it looks the same or better or worse, I guess that's kind of what we're asking you to weigh today. So.
Do you find any corn rootworm at all in your acres?
Ever since we started this, we don't see.
I guess my question is, rootworms feed on the ruts. Of course, we have a hard time seeing that visually, right? So have you done any root digs with comparing the products and seeing big differences on the roots?
When we first started it, of course, like when Caleb started trying it, we did have him check for anything that could possibly eat the plant and hurt the plant. And we found dead ones here and there, and what you find is those predatory insects just stay away. They figure out real quick that if they eat that plant, they die, and then you just don't see them out there anymore. Rootworms and stuff like that, they're just not there.
It works in the roots too. Anything that's attacking the roots, it kills that.
See, the way he's doing it in furrow, it's in the plant from the time it germinates all the way through the life cycle of the plant, so they know not to go in there. And like he said on the earworms, you'll have we've seen a few damages here and there, but it's not significant. It's not something you'd be like, well, they ate me out of the house and home.
Yeah.
They're there, but it's not, the damage isn't bad, and the rootworms is the same way. They might take a bite bite or two, but they'll be dead before they do any damage to the plant.
It may be a little early to tell, but, you know, with rootworms, we use, you know, BT proteins and our traits to go after them. Of course, they're developing resistance that fast. Is there any chance of insects developing resistance to the microbes if we're
See,
using this on a constant use? or-
That's the beauty of our plus B, is they can't develop a resistance to something that eats them from the inside out.
Yeah, it's alive.
It's a live organism. When they ingest it, our product eats the bug from the inside out. You'll see hollow shells or hulls of whatever it was out in the field. There's nothing left. But with you using the other conventional products, you also kill off all of your good bugs too.
Right.
So with us, that's the benefit, another benefit of it. All your beneficials are still there. But yeah, they can't build resistance up because it's still gonna eat them from the inside out.
There hasn't been anything that I've found that it doesn't control. Even, I was pretty worried this last year about Japanese beetle. Saw that move into the area. And I saw some again this year, tried to feed, and they just basically moved on.
I know you're finding like dead ones out there, like you described, where their shells are
of
there,
them,
but they're.
Not really, I wouldn't find them, but I have pictures of, you know, this year, there's 10 on the very end of the field that I in a row, like on per plant. And, you know, I was like, well, I'm gonna watch this really close to see, and just a few days, they were all gone, and there was no other silk damage, not even one more plant into the field. They just, the outside they came, and I don't know if they flew away and died, or if they, you know, it didn't agree with them enough, and they just moved on to something easier. So that's kind of what I found with those. Yeah, we just don't have rootworm issues anymore. So I'm just kind of assuming that I do root digs in the roots, and we'll do some today when we're out there, so you can see.
And the healthier the plant, the least, even without the plus B, insects can't digest it very well. They're gonna go for a weaker plant. That's just the way God designed it. So as you grow healthier plants, you know, you're just gonna see less insects as well, let alone then have plus B in there. You don't have much to worry about.
One other thing is the stem borer, we thought it works on stem
Yeah,
borer.
I think I got a picture of stem borer control in here somewhere. This will caterpillar, the earworm, you can see that there's some damage, but after a while, so this is stem borer. It made it about, they'll make it about 3 to 5 inches in the plant, and I'll typically cut one open and find that. They're just petrified in there basically, or yep, it's been really good, and this is something, I mean, if you got an infestation, it's gonna take probably a year or two to get it cycled, where it, you know, you probably get the level of control you absolutely are looking for, but it does, it'll do the job.
And yeah, again, with plus B, you want it before insects show up, so the earlier the better, because it takes 2-3 days before the plant is just fully uptaking it and it's in all of the plant. So where if that insect takes any bite of the plant anywhere, and then it takes a day or so for it to work that microbe inside the insect. So like I said, if you already got an infestation of armyworms or whatever, you know, they can move pretty fast. Plus B is not gonna necessarily help you right then and there.
That was, I guess there's your question, that was, my organic transition plot when I had corn in there. And that's, I couldn't use any synthetic fertilizer either, so that corn grew solely on the 1 gallon that I put in. Well, I think it had 1.5 gallons I top dressed with some later on in the season. So, I think it yielded 150 something just with sugar grow by itself.
So So you said you, did a second application?
I did do it since I couldn't use any synthetic
So
fertilizer.
you did a full rate intro, and then you did another full rate over the top?
I did a half rate over the top, about, probably 80 leaves or so, whenever I could, think you could in there.
Like for like on whole bean ground?
Yes, it was. So any other questions?
We just gonna come up to reinoculate soybeans with this too.
Yeah, we, just as added insurance for ourselves, we take a few gallons of, the Sure Grow with plus B plus M, and we run it through our liquid inoculator on our bean cart. And just make sure that, like I said before, that the liquid will actually get in and penetrate that seed wall, and it will stay in there with it. It just is a guarantee for us that we're gonna have both the plus B plus M working for us from the very beginning.
Do you still do in-furrow treatment when you plant them?
Yeah, but not with, on soybeans, then we just go straight Sure Grow that we put in. We don't, because we already know the plus B and plus M are there.
Okay.
So then we just, it's a way to, not too many places I don't think you go. I mean, that'll save you much more money because you don't have to spend,
The whole field.
treat the whole field with the gallon rate.
Mhm.
You're treating all the seeds because 1 gallon will do 1,800 pounds of seed. So then it's that much cheaper.
Any other questions, or if everyone's ready to head to the field, we'll go follow Caleb to his cornfield.
Yeah, I'll briefly explain again what we did here, just from the slides. And we got 108 pounds of 32 on this corn. It's irrigated. We did the compost and the Sure Grow in furrow. Got the plus B plus M. This was done in furrow. I didn't seed treat the seed prior, so this is just that. We did some stand counts yesterday. Our final stand is probably we counted 32,000. So that's kind of where we are. Anything else that you wanted to add?
Did you run the nitrogen to extend it, or?
No, I just, because this is new, I did set up a 30-day feasibility, but I haven't used it.
What is it, beans last year?
This was beans, so there is if you want to give a 40-pound credit
Yeah.
in it too, so yeah, total nitrogen would be somewhere around that 150 range. When you add it all together, including the soybean credit.
And then this field has had microburst as well, correct?
No,
No, this one hasn't. Okay.
it's not.
Okay.
It will come
This fall. Okay.
but it does not have any on yet. If you want to see some microbursts, you can go just to that soybean field. It does. We have found if you have dropped ears, it'll control those pretty well. I was running the combine, so it's my fault. I must have spit out quite a few kernels because when I go through there, those are just single plants in there. So, but that's probably the best corn I've ever raised too. So, well, I know it is the best corn that I've raised. And that had this program, it had a reduced rate nitrogen on last year too. So this is the second year we've played with reducing some nitrogen. But this is the most significant reduction at basically 40% reduction of what they recommend.
Are you reducing P&K levels at all, or what are you doing there?
I'm kind of playing with the compost to try and get those up. They're pretty low on my soil samples, so that's something that's still out of balance, out of whack. So we're working on that here. Yep.
So you're kind of still running the standard application of your phosphorus and potassium for your corn then? Your fertilizer, what you're putting out? You haven't
There's
changed
a
that
little
any?
bit of sulfur that we added to that 108 pounds, but not very much. I can't remember.
Soft rock on this.
No, not on this field.
All this had was compost, right?
Yep.
600 pounds of compost.
that free any place you want.
If I'd have known that, man, we'd have been in there a long time ago. No freight and get that, that's what I'm talking about.
What are your phosphorus potassium levels on your soil test? Do you know, running roughly?
Yeah, I have it in my truck, so you can sure take a look at it. I also did tissue samples throughout the year, so you can look at my tissue samples too if you would like. And also the water. I tested the water. So I got all those samples. You can look through them. Pull out anything from there that might interest you or anything like that. So.
The nitrogen is just put on the chemicals for the weeds here.
Just post planting.
A lot of our soils are just low on potassium, so we have to put on quite a bit of potash on it. I just
Okay.
didn't know if we could get by reducing rates there or what, so that's what I was asking.
It will. It has. So there's microbes in the Sure Grow that specifically target
Right.
and break
Like
down potassium.
phos and potassium ought to help. Because you probably got a lot tied up, I'm guessing. It's just not
Yeah,
available.
they just, like I said, we just have low tested soils. And
Mm.
I don't think they've probably been taken care of. We've taken over some new ground and we got some potash levels down and, well below 100, and then some of the phosphorus is well below 20. I mean, it's fairly low.
Mhm.
So,
But yeah, there's usually a lot tied up of those two as well.
Right.
And the microbes within Sure Grow will help to break those and release those over the years.
Yep.
So
okay.
to make them available.
Kind of feedlots in your area?
Yeah, and we got it. We got some manure we put on some fields, and all those test pretty high in phosphorus, but we're still real low in potassium on some of those fields.
Yeah.
Probably because we're pulling silage off every year, so we're removing a lot of that.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, you're constantly harvesting potassium.
yes.
We want to go in the fields.
But your phosphorus levels actually get low doing that too?
Moving silage, not so much as your potash.
Okay,
but
that's
we
what-
just
yeah,
have we just
You
have
wanna
some
take the
soils
shovel?
down there that sets pretty low, and I think there's been a time where they didn't put much on, so we're trying to build them up. But we've got some fields, and they're high pH, like you said. I know a lot of that stuff's probably tied up. We're just not getting access to it. But we got some testing pretty low, and of course, guys that do continuous wheat on their dry land down there, they're really low, and their pHs are low, and their phosphorus levels are low. And I would think this product would really help in those situations. So.
On winter wheat, when would you put on when you plant, or in the spring, or when?
If I had to choose to do, we've had people do it fall and spring, and you can play with that. Like if you do a fall and then the spring of a half a gallon in the spring, or some do another full gallon, so 2 gallons total. But if I was only going to put 1 gallon on, I'd probably do it in the fall because it's up there, up front, gets the roots established and everything. But it just kind of depends on when you get planted and stuff too.
You mean carrying it in starter fertilizer,
Do what?
carrying it in the starter fertilizer, on wheat in the fall?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting it in it.
Yeah. But I mean, if you plant way late and you get a freeze, you might be better off waiting until spring to hit it then too, once it's coming out of dormancy.
Depends on how you're applying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just what works best for you. But I would do it, like I said, fall if it was me. And I was only gonna do the 1 gallon, one time, one pass, I would do it in the fall.
Yeah.
Bring a city guy out here, he's,
I'll tell you what, man.
cows eat palmer pretty well too, just so you know.
Yeah. No, I know. I was looking at all that wasted food.
Are we
we factor a little bit no matter what. I mean, it's irrigated, we're putting on, usually about 220 pounds a year, so and we do try to side dress as much as we can. We've got some stands down there.
So you're where at?
So I'm down by Wichita there, on the river area, so, yeah.
What's your town down there?
So, well, I'm by Cheney, but my family is from near Mountain Oak there, right in the same place as Wichita there.
Pete, I've got to take one of these bean plants and prove that the creep leader actually was at some ag deal.
Yep. This field. So this has the microburst. We did a fall application of it. So you can kind of look at the trash on that, what you think. This is irrigated as well. These beans are 2.6 maturity. And
What brand?
Asgrow.
Asgrow.
They just have a
I'd say that pretty well
gallon
told it all right there.
of Sugargrow in furrow, and we seed treated with the plus B plus M in our tender.
Now, Jim, we need to ask him the ultimate question. Just looking at this corn and the beans here, I just read on my trusty phone a couple days ago that you need to pasture this to get that corn out of this field instead of spraying it out. What do you think about pasture stock?
I think it's pretty good. This is this field versus when you go back into town, take a look at the split there where the driveway is for the irrigation. They pastured that half, and I didn't pasture this half. So
Took
Is
all
there-
the volunteer out.
Is the corn down there?
They did a good job. I think.
Not very much, no.
These guys around Minneapolis, these no-tillers, oh hell, you can't even walk in the damn field, they get pissed off.
You gotta have
And-
snowshoes on.
I mean, I no-till some, I plant some.